This is the just released AS-33me from Got Friends. If you've just bought it, congratulations. This beauty is the most advanced, the most modern glider in the Microsoft Flight Simulator world. It's a beautiful plane, but boy, it can be a handful to fly. This video will introduce you to the brain of this fabulous machine, the LX9070 navigation system. The system is not only for navigation and efficient task and waypoint management, but it's also a portal into the customization options available to you with the Got Friends package. Your purchase includes two variants, the 15 meter and the 18 meter. I'm in the 18 meter version right now on the Wasatch Range outside of Salt Lake City, but your systems will be identical between the planes. The 9070 is an upgraded version of the LX9000 you'll use in the Got Friends Discus 2C. Basically does the same thing on steroids. Let's take a look at the customization options first. So you'll probably want to do this on the ground and not in the air as I am right now. I'm in active pause flying in 2020, but I wanted to introduce you to some of the options that you'll have for customizing your flight deck and your instrumentation package. You'll probably notice that your default configuration is quite different than mine, and that's thanks to these fabulous configuration options that Got Friends gives you. You access the configuration options in the bottom left with these dials, and the best news about these knobs that you twist and buttons you can push is that every single one of them is available to you with a keybind, which is a fabulous thing to have. If you've got a lot of buttons around or a Stream Deck kind of device, you can customize everything about this little interface, and it is fabulous. So let's begin by turning our page button to the right, and you will see the first screen we're brought to is the global settings. Here we can do the obvious things such as changing our climb units to meters per second or knots, speed units, altitude, distance, temperature, and even your theme, light and dark. All of those things can be changed here. Moreover, not only do they change them in the LX9070 itself, but also in the instruments. Let me show you. Watch my airspeed indicator over on the left. When I click it to kph, it instantly switches to a kph gauge. So if I want to be consistent, I could do that throughout the system and change whatever settings I want, and I can change them anytime, including during flight. Launching is a really great option you can do from this screen too. So you can request a launch if you land out somewhere where there's no tow plane or winch available. You can request a launch and spawn a winch or a tow plane for an immediate tow. There are multiplayer tow options, and you can of course reset all of your settings with a single click. There's also a launch available to you via the SD card over here on the right. If you click it, you're immediately taken to a quick winch system built into the plane by Got Friends. You would see launch options appear below you if you're on the ground, and of course I'm not. So that's the global settings page. Twisting our knob to the right gives us the aircraft settings page. Now this is really cool. The aircraft settings page lets you turn on and off features of the plane that you may want hidden. For example, you'll notice that your AS-33 probably has a floor display. Mine doesn't. That unit that's up here in the top of the cockpit, I turned it off by clicking the removed button. I can bring it back anytime I want, including mid-flight with the button here. You can even hide your yaw string. I don't know why you'd want to do that. All glider pilots need it and use it and rely on it, but you can do it. You can take out the oxygen system, though I wouldn't recommend it. Same thing with canopy tint, flight stick visibility, and look at this. You can have contamination drag effects. What that does is it turns on bugs on your wings and on the cockpit, I would presume too. But you'll notice that as you fly, if this is on, you will pick up bugs. So what do you do about it? Well, one of the things you do about it is you can have bug wipers. Watch this. So if I turn the bug wipers on with this switch here, you can see the bug wiper moving. And that bug wiper is scraping the leading edge of the wing, and it should come back here. Hopefully it will. And I'll bring it back and do the other one. There we go. And now you can see both bug wipers doing their thing, and we'll see the resultant effect of the surface contamination. You'll see that it's down to 0, although I'm already starting to pick up bugs again. If you want, you can leave it in place at the end of the wing. I tend to try and bring them in, although I don't use the bug contamination very much. Now, my contamination level has dropped to almost none. If you don't want to bother with that while you're flying, of course, you can turn it all off with the flick of a switch. So now let's continue our tour of the water ballasted AS-33. You'll notice that by default, your water ballast level is at 78%. That's set in the weights and balances, which you would want to take care of on the weights and balances screen. But by default, you're given the perfect weight and balance to be just within the class specs and still have max ballast, and you have to remember to drain it when you're landing. My favorite function of this plane is the adverse yaw. I like to fly gliders as I would be in real life. The way that becomes more realistic is through the addition of adverse yaw. Yes, it makes the plane a little bit more challenging to fly, but by changing your adverse yaw settings to 100% or more if you wish, it does make the plane harder to fly because you do have to introduce rudder. It takes away some of your auto rudder functionality and does make the plane more challenging, especially in a thermal or a tight situation where you're climbing in a canyon. It can be dangerous, so you want to be careful with that. But as you gain an experience and as you become a more seasoned glider pilot, you will find that adverse yaw being at 100% gives you that realistic feeling of being able to turn in a very tight thermal and staying inside it and centering it just like a real glider pilot would, and that is a fabulous thing. Let's continue our tour now by going to my favorite screen of all. This is the dashboard settings, and if you've looked closely between your screens and mine, you'll notice mine's set up very differently than yours comes out of the box. And that's because the dashboard settings, these gauges on the left and right of the LX9070, can be customized. So I like to group my airspeed and altitude indicators here, my varios on the right. I've put my radio on the right side and the compass over on the left. Now that's fabulous because that works for me. And the way I got it was setting up this screen right here. So let me show you how to do it. I'll flip the compass and the radio pretty easily. So I'll click the ACD57, which is this unit here in slot number 6, and I'll click it and it takes it away, and I get a metaled NOP or INOP instrument, and I'll switch it over to the compass. Now, notice that the compass left this slot here. You cannot have more than one of the same instrument. So now I have an opening in slot 1. I'll put the ACD57 there. Some checks are run to make sure that not any instrument is duplicated, and just like that, I've got the instrumentation the way I like it, which is really cool. And let me take a moment to just indicate to you real quick that this instrument over here, the LX Nav, is the LXV, the LX Vario. It's the variometer that's tied into the system of the LX9070, so that they're talking to each other, and all the variometer information that the LX9070 is processing is coming from the LX Nav, not the traditional, what I like to call mechanical vario. So that's the difference between the two and why you would need them. This works for me, but it may not work for you. So you implement the dashboard the way you like it, and I think you'll find that the AS-33 is that much more fun to fly. Let's continue our tour with the final settings screen, the grid settings screen. Now the grid settings screen is also highly customizable. What's the grid, you wonder? Well, the grid is this set of information around the map. So when I go there, let me flip back to it really quick. Oop, that's the task screen, the next one I'm going to show you. And the grid settings help you understand all the information presented to you on the main screen of the LX9070. So you have the button, knob and button labels at the top, and on the bottom, of course, that's these units down here, and they will change based on what you're looking at. You have the waypoint name and limits, and if you're not flying a task, it's simply any airports that you might be starting to or from. And then you have the waypoint direction arrows. The nav system in this screen will be telling you what direction you need to fly to get to the next waypoint. Do you need to turn right or turn left? It's a very simple indicator, but it's very, very handy. The main piece of this screen are these grid units, and you can see I've customized mine already, and I've added flaps and trim down here, and I've also added a heading degree. I love, love, love the LX9070, but I find that these numbers on the altitude and speed tape are really kind of small. And so I do appreciate that on the AC-57, I do get a nicer altitude display here, and that's great, but I really like having a heading indicator because the heading of the compass is very difficult for me to read when I'm zoomed out and I'm flying. So I've added a heading indicator here. The way that works is I've clicked on the blank space, and then I click on, in this case, heading true, and there you go. Now, because I've already put it there, then I don't need to add it twice. But basically, you just click on any of these red areas and pick which of the overlays you wish to have. If you want a waypoint specific overlay, then you select it from this menu here, and you'll already see that there are some waypoint selections in there by default, and that's great. And that is the overlay system of the LX9070. It is a fabulous device. Now, how do you use it? What are you going to be doing during flight? Well, you've seen me use this task button several times, and this task button will give you the indicators that you need to fly your tasks. If you've got a Sim Soaring Club SSC task that you've listed here, then you'll notice all the waypoints listed for you. Now, I'm not flying a task at the moment. I just took off from Ogden, Utah, and I was setting up a route to the Nephi Muni, which is 162 kilometers away, which is fine as a start and finish point and works very well. You'll notice that I'm getting this error, and we've been working on this problem in the beta for a while. But if you have a DNF error, you will see it flagged in red. Ordinarily, it's just blank and just the regular background black color, or if you're using the dark tint. All of your tasks or all of your waypoints will be stacked up here. You can toggle them if you have a long list of them by moving this knob down here on the bottom right. So if I want to keep an eye on my finish and have that all set, it will point me this using this orange and black arrow always in the direction of my next waypoint. And these are those arrows. It happens that I'm almost pointed directly at my finishing airport. So you don't see the arrows on the side, but those are those arrows I was pointing out. So you have a speed tape on the left, you have an altitude tape on the right, and whatever grid you have chosen, and you can change and move these around, but you have up to 16 different grid spots for all of the various options that you have. So that's really a great lot of information. You can almost fly the glider from this screen alone. You'd need a vario, and I think that would do it. So we toggle between the task page and the main grid with this button here to the left, to the right of the customization button or the page button. You can adjust your brightness, and remember that one of the settings is your overall brightness, but you can toggle it up or down depending on the glare or what have you. You can turn the grid on and off with this button. You toggle your buttons down there. You can change your MacCready one of two different ways. You can use the MacCready plus button up here on the upper right, or the minus button next to it, or you can turn this knob here. Both of those will adjust your MacCready settings for your flying. I won't go into that because that's a whole different topic. You can change the zoom level of your map by looking at this upper right button that helps you figure out what you need to be looking at there. Now, this map that you're looking at behind is the default Bing map, but if you'd rather have a Google map or a satellite map, you can have them. This is the satellite map. I'll rotate it again. We'll get the Nat Geo map. Rotate it again. We'll get a topographical map, which is the one I prefer and use, especially when I'm flying ridge tasks. And then you have a Google map. So you can pick whatever map you want. I'll go back to the regular Bing map for now, but you can choose whatever map you like. You can zoom in or out, and you can get all the information you need to fly the plane using this absolutely fabulous instrument, the LX9070. Contributions are made from B21, one of the great glider folks. All the Got Friends team have put fabulous work into this, and the gliding community in Microsoft Flight Simulator has really teamed up to give you what I think is an absolutely fantastic gliding piece of instrumentation, both in the plane, the AS-33 implementation from Got Friends, and all the fabulous people that have put together what could be a very modular system, and hopefully will be seen in a lot more gliders in the future. So that's your introductory guide to the LX9070 included in the Got Friends AS-33me glider. I hope you enjoy it. If you like this video, please give it a like so I'll know to continue making great soaring content, and I will see you in the next thermal.